But we are going to we're going to get going again. We have at least one more spotlight here, as we have Awkward Mancer playing Cyril here, and we're going to go over from the events that had just occurred, which was a lot, and where we had left off. Well, apparently, the ship's morale officer has joined us here too. Hi, ma'am. Yeah. Do you eat bugs? Oh, you do? Well, that's nice of you. They could probably use that.
Yeah, we got a really big bug.
So we go from Danner and Isaac sealing themselves into a cryo tube for a hopeful future, and now we're going to open up. As we fade back in from black on another ship. Here we have a very basic diagram of the Emmet. The Emmet is a research ship, which is under the jurisdiction of the independent colonies, and in brief acts like a non-government organization observing or stellar phenomena, collecting samples, occasionally providing some sort of humanitarian aid. And they operate in the along the frontier in a neutral zone between UPP space and the United Americas. So they are as independent as possible. The Emmet is a top-of-the-line ship. It has a very unique design, not pictured here. It actually has, in order to get samples or to help rescue a ship, it actually has like a claw in the front that it can hold onto and for sampling, or even draw it in for examination or to rescue people as well. It has two large engines on either side, and it houses a lot of people. There's almost 100 people aboard the Emmet, though not all of them are awake at any point in time. And being a neutral party, the ship is coated in a very reflective white paint. They are as obvious as possible to make sure that anyone knows that, hey, we're not here to cause trouble, we're not here to spark a war. We're here to observe, we're here as people of science, etc. Now, in particular, we have our front, our fore loading bay, as along its patrol in this between, there was a very interesting asteroid that had been detected, at least in part. And as such, this is a ship that studies interesting phenomena, so at the behest of the chief science officer, one Dr. Cyril Iskander. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. The ship's course was slightly modified to only dip a little bit into UPP space, which, in the grand scheme of things, they're technically allowed in UPP space. And it's been a long time since they've met any of the patrol ships that every once in a while they don't literally bump into, but they'll sort of pass each other, communicate. But this was an intriguing thing and an opportunity to advance science for a great many people. And along with a small science team, we have Dr. Iskander in this bay in an EVA suit, along with the rest of the crew. Not for a spacewalk, but just because, hey, these things require some containment, some caution, until maybe more proper, maybe not more powerful. This ship is very well equipped, top of the line stuff, but still, it's an interesting specimen that we'll get into. Coffee, if you're able, can you drop the specimen into the cargo hold here? And I will need an Iskander in here. Now, the crew was very expert going out in the shuttle, simply known as Black. A lot of people, like when you're on a cushy assignment like this, a lot of people, will play cards or entertain themselves. And given the fact that the Emmet itself is pretty much is the white face of a playing card, the two shuttles, especially for their distinct colorations, were given the very simple names of Red and Black. Black is the one that will go out and can bring dignitaries or donors. Ooh, excellent, even. Or will go out and perform maintenance. It does a lot of those types of things. Whereas Red it's a big bus. A bunch of people can go on there for transportation to and from. It can haul, a lot of people. Kind of acts as the biggest life raft for those who are not in cryo sleep. But anyway, so here you are. You have various instruments that you might want to bring to examine the specimen. It was brought close by the Black shuttle, and the claws that a lot of people just will jokingly call mandibles here, because it will actually kind of go out and hold on to a ship or a sample and then bring it into the front bay here. Well, you got a very strange rock, not on your hands, but maybe soon to be. But that's the super basic setup to this scene and what's going on. So, Doctor, if there are particular questions you have or a procedure that you're looking to undergo, let me know, and I will be happy to work with you as your dutiful and educated science staff, who totally just aren't people getting, whatever extra credit at university trying to go for a major. Or not a major, a master's or something. By the way, there's a lot of those people who are working on this ship.
Oh, yeah. And Dr. Iskander is very used to dealing with these people. A lot of people consider him the most important person here, not because he's in charge, but because he actually has the merits to actually improve their careers further. And as such, he has a tendency to have both gravitas and very huge opinion of himself. But at this point, he is trying to figure out the gravitas of this rock. What are the dimensions of it? What are the features of it? Because what I see right now is not a rock which I would find in the space normally.
Well, one of the age-old traditions in science, going back to Earth, is by measuring things not with something like meters or feet, but by comparisons to appliances or vehicles. And so you have on your hands a big conglomeration of something that is, say it's about the size of a the buses in London, the double stack buses.
Double decker.
Yeah, the double decker buses. Though it's not quite as long. Um, but yeah, you have something about that size, and even of somewhat similar composition. Because while you are finding rock of some kind, there does appear to be metal fused into it, melted or something, as well as over some of the metal parts there's a weird kind of red rust, mold, lichen, something. But this is your first
No.
visual, like, it just got brought in, you say, excellent, and you're just walking forward. You have your containment suit on, so you don't have to worry about radiation or other things. But I'm sorry, so back to you.
Well, we'll have time to Uzi and X-ray it later. At this point, we'll probably collect some samples, the surface samples, the residue, the corners, the metallic parts. Basically, a bunch of samples will be collected, maybe a few dozens at least. I will be walking around the thing, just taking a visual look. We'll need to, since it's been held by the claw, I will know its exact mass at this point. So I will know its density, if it's about as dense as a rock, if it's as dense as iron, significantly more heavier, significantly lighter.
Yeah,
I will be studying this as an object. Since this residue doesn't seem to be, it could be chemical, but you said that I will compare it to a mold.
yeah, it has a texture to it where which would harken onto something like a mold or a lichen that has a different texture than the substance it is on.
Just in case, we might need to have the containment procedures. It could be exobiology. We have heard of this, not in space normally, but we have no idea what this thing is. So we'll need to have extra procedures for the biocontainment.
All right.
I will have a small gaggle of postdocs around here. They will do all the sampling. I'm not going to be hitting that thing with a hammer or scraping it with a lancet. My job here is to present my expertise, but I'm not a biologist and I'm not a geologist. Uh, I specialize in data. I specialize in the trajectory of that rock tells me more than actual content thereof, but I can draw my conclusions. I had quite a few disciplines under my belt.
All right. So you immediately start setting your team, and this probably has this absolutely has you excited. It's not that your team isn't excited, but this is also the first time that they've had to really do something more than ambient sensor sweeps and just the usual, which is the majority of what happens. As the assignment on this boat, on this research vessel, has been, and I won't put a mood or words necessarily in your mouth, Doctor, or at least words that that you would speak out loud to people, but this is a very cushy job, relatively safe, as you are under the protection of the independent colonies. You have this wiggle room. The instruments aboard the Emmet are just I mean, this is like in a university, like very well funded, which this is an extension of too, but there's just not a lot that has happened that would be exciting to a lot of people. And this is certainly the first time that, beyond any kind of mandatory physical education, just to keep people moving and healthy, maybe studying the effects if we like lower like on the plants in the hydroponics bay or whatever. So there's always things that can be done. But this is new. This is big. Like they get to drill into stuff, and they get to do non-standard operating procedure, which has, maybe some excited. Other people are like, oh wow, you got to work. I didn't really sign up for that. I just wanted to float around for a while and get extra credit for my college courses. Because my dad's kind of a big donor, so got to ride on the Emmet, and well, anyway.
For the extra credit. Well, someone is bringing in an Uzi or maybe an X-ray machine. We'll have a look at what's inside. We don't need to break it apart for that.
I would like you then. Now, there's no particular stress here, but for the type of quality of samples that you want in the immediacy, is you're having people do this work. I would like you to roll a command in order to give these clear, concise, just you are getting this, and everyone, hopefully is paying attention and will follow your orders to a T. And you do carry authority, so you can roll this with a +2. Okay. Do you want to push it? You did get a success. But if you want more success...
I do not see any point. This will... Just studying this rock is not a few hours project.
No.
We'll spend the next few weeks taking it apart. Tiny gravel bit by bit. So at some point I will chase everyone out and I will go through it with a fine comb myself. But at this point, there is a photo working in the back. I'm not going to be breaking my back and slave driving that just for the sake of a little bit more efficiency.
Okay, no problem. So the crew gets to work, and you're happy to start going over the data that then their standard procedures of washing samples or containing it and measuring this and that. They're following your orders. Just how there's the head doctor of a hospital has a procedure so that everything is just, I can work with the data that I get here because there's just a way that we do it. Everyone here, since you came aboard, which actually seemed to be a paradigm shift for the people and the culture aboard the ship. You're not captain, but I mean, you carry a lot of weight because of this. So yeah, you're going to have them do things in a particular fashion that's going to make it easier for you to categorize and examine, look for differences and similarities, etc. And they begin their business. Going on about
the safety screenings, the poisons, the biological activities, the radioactivities, etc.
And the team begins their work. You are you get a. Let's see if I can get it here. No, it wasn't that one. You get a signal in your EVA communications that the captain would actually like to see you and talk to you in the officers' lounge.
I scrub out because we have containments and whatnot, and I saunter over.
Okay, yep.
There's nothing that these people cannot do without me. It's just my presence there is expected.
It's official. You could sign off on the orders, and you could see that. Okay, like we talked. I know I talked to you, and so if you mess up, all right. So yeah, you go. You go to the locker. Standard. Various decontamination for radio, biological elements, etc. For the EVA suit. You get out of that. You go through a personal decontamination as well. Very thorough. Very good of you. And let's go ahead and Coffee, if you can swap the scenes to put the doctor walking through the interior of the Emmet.
With the rock and tow.
Yep, you're bringing it with you. You know what? Yeah, you figured out you can't trust them, and so you're just gonna bring. You know the captain's gonna ask after it, so you might as well just bring the sample right there. I'm sorry. You are hallucinating. Uh-oh.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, that's the spirit. Doctor, the Emmet, it's always been the same, which it hasn't been bad. It's been regular. Everything is just, it's clean. Everything is daylight, like daylight bright. You've certainly heard about a lot of other ships, just like kind of leaky, and there's rust everywhere, and it's just, it's terrible. And that's from all factions. You know, it's not just like oh haha stereotypical UPP have junk ships or something, but this has always stood out. And yet at the same time, I don't know, Doctor, does the fact that the Emmet has just always been so sterile, like everything again, it's like fluorescent white daylight, everything is clean. There's a couple synths that help out, but the majority of the crew is human. And it's just this. It's this aesthetic. What are your thoughts as you're walking through these halls?
It's relaxing. It keeps the mess out of the way, keeps your mind clear for what's really important.
The
Just
water
look at
is
this
like
corridor. It focuses you right there. I probably done more thinking walking down these corridors than at my computer since I got on the ship.
It's very good for pacing. Pacing and thinking. Yeah, it even has like a nice, almost like a rubberized, not even like a carpet. It's almost like a softer rubber. It's just, yeah, the water is recycled, but it's not even like, it kind of tastes weird. You're not sure if the filter is working. Like the water's like double filtered. That's even passing through like the hydroponics bay. The air is very, it's filtered, is humidity controlled. Again, this is it's luxurious stuff, but also everything is in order, and also everything is measurable because you can measure the particulates of the air. You can measure the water quality, whereas some space truckers are just like, it's wet, gulp.
It's a bit annoying that it messes up the tea quality, but I mean, you make do with what you have.
I'm sure during one of your rotations, though, you were able to pull some strings and get your favorite variety of tea growing in the hydroponics. So at least you.
Oh, the problem is not with the variety of tea, but the quality of water used to brew it.
Like the lack of minerals.
Separate. It will require a separate working through the separate cycling for the water which is used for the tea. But Captain doesn't need to worry about that. I can handle that much.
All right. So you pass by others. At any point in time, there's about maybe 25 people, sometimes 30, of crew, and then there's a couple officers above them too, that operate in different shifts, not just throughout the day of those who are not in cryostasis, but there's an entire storage section which is jokingly it's called the freezer because that's where people are stored, but that's also where you store a lot of there are some scientific samples, but also just things that need to stay cold or frozen for the long voyage, and you want some food. So there's a lot of people down there as well. And I don't know, overall, despite the very blaring white and kind of a blank, there is still just, the morale is nice, everything is kind of casual. Most of the time, this has actually caused the most hullabaloo. Like, as people are walking by, like, oh, Doctor, what's this about the asteroid we collected? And so they're asking questions proactively, or be like, "Ooh, I hope I'm not called on duty." Some are shirking, but whatever. It's a mix. Everyone's good-hearted, though. You're not getting any sort of spiteful jockeying. Everyone just seems to be kind of well taken care of aboard the ship. In fact, you even pass by the security officer, uh, uh, I guess Chief Danner, and wow, with a name like that, that's so unique. There's got to be no one else in the galaxy. But so you meet Chief Danner just passing by. He asks if everything is well. Is he needed at all, or is this just standard?
We do have the containment procedures regarding the samples. We don't want any samples to leak before they're cleared for all the hazards. And generally, you don't want the samples to go around. You might want to keep an eye on that. You never know who would want to keep a souvenir or sell something on the black market. But other than that, the scientific team is working on it, and we'll know more as we find out.
Oh, of course, Doctor. Now, between you and me, and he does lean forward in a friendly fashion. It's not threatening. I just got finished with a meeting with the captain, and I'll tell you, he's in a good mood. A definitely rare form. This seems to have him pretty excited. I can only imagine, considering his connection with the university, but I'm not saying anything by saying it, but so you know. I'm sorry I interrupted. What was that?
It's good to have something to do. Either way, it's not Christmas as per se, but it's activity, and some people severely lack it.
Unless you have any other words for the chief security officer, you two pass in the time of day. And you continue on. More lit, bright white corridors. A couple other people going here and there. In fact, you even pass by. You would need to go to the upper deck. So as you do, from where you're passing, you're going through effectively the recreation section, where there's a couple people who are around one of the androids, one of the Seegsons. This one has affectionately earned a very old Earth name from an entertainer known as Shemp. And the android is telling jokes in its usual, somewhat gravelly robotic voice, and is providing some laughs, and it's entertainment on tap. While there's no mistaking this machine for anything but a synthetic humanoid, it's still neat that it can dispense with some humor, some laughs, and even to that end, the actual ship's morale officer, well, kind of, who is the ship's cat and actually belongs to the chief security officer, is up here as well and ends up rubbing against your leg.
I'm not a big fan of animals as per se, even though the higher, richer people are supposed to be very proud of them. But this creature sort of grew on me over these months.
In a sense, it's hair too, because every time it rubs on you, it just leaves. Like, it leaves its hair on you. This thing is always
if I had to clean off that hair, I would be much more pissed off. Yes.
Fortunately, you've earned the privilege to not have to do that. But all right, so yeah, you pass by one of the Seegson synthetics. You pass by the ship's morale officer, who gives you a courtesy. Hey, we're cool. rubs against your leg, and continues on about his business. And you make your way from... Go back here real quick. Oops. Let's bring this to the front. Oh, that's the back. From the rec area, you walk up through the synth bay. You walk through the biolab, hydroponics. Apparently you're taking a circuitous route. And you get to the officer's lounge. This is fortunately not as blank as the rest of the ship has been. It has some in academia, there's usually like the past provosts or deans or, you know, the pictures of people who are up on a memorial wall. So in here, you're getting that academic appointment. There are some columns to recall back to old Greek architecture. Of course, it's all it's not actually for structural reasons. It's all decorative. There's a couple of the past captains, and wouldn't you know, most of them have been pretty high-ranking people in a university back in the independent colony. With the founder of the university that would go on to have this ship. Instead of just being a picture, there's actually a statue of Emmett himself, who is present and is giving is holding a book and is just giving a very neutral but friendly wave to anyone who might come in. It's a replica of the statue back at the university. There's wooden bookshelves here, so it has a nice warm, natural color to it and texture to it. We do go from the kind of the sterile rubber matting to something like a nicer carpet, and some other nice touches that make it comfortable, that make it luxurious but still magnified as a place of learning and dignified living should have.
As I pass by the statue, I nod at him, and as always say, Dr. Emmett, and keep going.
Waiting for you in the lounge is the captain, who is sitting at the end of a long meeting table. This isn't your first time there, and of course the mood is that you have no reason to be afraid of what the captain has to say, especially given the forewarning by the chief security officer. But you have Dr. Otto, who welcomes you, stands up after putting down a portable data slate. Dr. Iskander, fancy seeing you here. No. Don't worry about laughing. And he is the captain. He's also very full of his own self-humor, sort of his own, of course I'm humorous. He is the humblest man that he knows. And he'll tell everyone that he is, too. Please, have a seat. I want to know what you know. As much as you do, anyway. Seemed that everything was successful bringing it on board.
Of course. Thank you, Captain. I take a seat. We will need to have the extra procedures in the hold. The safety of the ship is paramount, you understand?
Oh, of course.
But at this moment, my team is working on it, and you will know as soon as I will. Well, very soon after.
I'm glad to hear. And in fact, because this could take some extra time, I wanted to make sure that, that you had it. And if there were any other similar samples, that we were in a position to gather them. So you don't need to worry that we're in a rush on, we're on our leg back as a part of this tour. So I made sure to have Benny, Benny, the main pilot of the ship. I made sure to have Benny hold in this area to run a couple more sweeps and tests, see if there's any other little crumbs, some cosmic crumbs, if you will, that can be picked up for science and progress, posterity, etc. The usual.
I'm sure you can figure out whatever where we're supposed to be and not supposed to be.
Yes. I wasn't asking for your permission to, to not leave the area, but I figured I'd let you know.
I do appreciate this could lead to more discoveries, or at the very least, more certainty in the discoveries that we will make. So you know as I that the more data we collect, the better. Much obliged.
We certainly hope so. As as an adjunct of the university, though captain all the same, it's good to know that we're able to contribute. And Doctor, between you and me, I believe it's pretty obvious that a lot of the crew here they're here for reasons other than the pure pursuit of science or education. I can tell you more than a handful are here as a form of vacation, even if it just means being stored in a suspended animation, just because it gets them out of their house with their parents. But I think, over the years that you've been here, Doctor, there's been a spark lit for this lantern of knowledge. And you've really helped to create a culture of curiosity, I guess we'll put it. And, I wanted to let you know that I'm counting on you to continue that. Your tenure aboard this vessel has been extended beyond others because you have provided results, and they've not gone unnoticed. Now, in a bit of an out of character talk here, it might sound like a vague threat. He's not meaning it as such, but sometimes the things that he says always has a hint of more. He does come across as very genuine, but it's just always, why does he say it that way? Why is there always just that one little extra?
Not everyone is blessed with excess of empathy.
Good, you didn't look at his character sheet, because I assure you that's the case. So,
this man is clearly very intelligent, and he did get here because of his academic abilities first, and command abilities second. So, as somebody who deals with academics all the time, I would not even bat an eye at it.
Yep, he's not your first person with that sort of lifestyle or career, and he's definitely not going to be your last. As long as you're alive, anyway. I don't know why I just said that. I sound like the captain. Anyway, so you have this, you have this conversation, this back and forth. If you want a snack or a drink, someone can bring it in too while you're talking. After the official business.
I will have the tea.
What's that?
I will have the tea, as always.
Doctor, you're correct. It's good, but it's not like it is, when we're not here. And I'll tell you, it's the damnedest thing. Maybe it's even in part psychological, because I could put all kinds of minerals or flavoring agents or chemicals in here, it's still not the same. Fascinating
The plasma
phenomenon.
is the gases which get dissolved in the water and they're much harder to get rid of.
Well, that might explain it then, considering how absolutely pure this place is. Well, anyway, I appreciate that, and
but let's not talk about that.
there's a chime at the door, signaling that someone is outside, and Captain says, "Yes, come in." Door opens, and it's one of the bridge crew. Sir, well, sirs, as he sees both of you here, this might interest you. It seems as if there's actually a little bit more. It could be maybe a second one of these. Not quite sure. Anyway, here, I'm sorry. And the crewman comes over, hands the papers to the captain, who looks them over, and you're in academia. You know the face of, oh, of course, yes. But there's no, there's nothing. There's no connection going on right now. It's not completely over his head, but he does look at you, and after dismissing the crewman, actually, this might be more of interest to you. Slides it. And as you look it over, it does seem like there is a stronger signal that is that has been detected, and maybe that indicates that this mass was a forerunner of something else.
Perhaps we should secure this mass just in case we need to catch something else.
I'll leave that to you, as you are more of a detail man than I. I'm the big picture guy, of course. But it seems like this might, this might benefit a lot of people.
Well,
anyway.
In this case, I have a job to do. By your leave, Captain.
Yeah. He's actually now seeming a little distracted, like he's thinking maybe of possibilities, maybe of ways of explaining things, or even the best tone of voice to use to accept yet another award. He shakes the doubt off. Yes, I'm sorry, Doctor. Of course. I'll trust you to do your part on the ship here. Interesting. Anyway, you're dismissed. I wanted to check in. You know how it is. I don't really actually get to bump into you all that often, so...
You should see me for tea sometime when we are both free. Meanwhile, I have to go. And as I leave, Captain, I pull out the communicator. Team, please secure the mass, make sure the bay will be available in case we'll need to use the claw as soon as possible. And I actually finally increase my pace from sauntering to brisk walk.
As time continues to pass here, and we're not talking like months or anything, but over the course of the next couple days, more data is coming in about the samples. Of course, you've been actively reading what you can from it, learning what you can from it, and it comes to you that there is a mission in the Black Shuttle that is going to be well, you are welcome to be a part of it, though you are not required to. But from the data that has been collected, especially using what has been learned about this asteroid, the the sensors have been able to not really be tuned to pick up, but accommodations have been made to almost read the negative space, the things that aren't picked up, and trying to find, pardon me, and maybe this is a contribution of yours in this short term, trying to find the picture that the negative space makes. Because we're so often obsessed with what we can see and feel and is right in front of us. This is not quite acting on faith, but this is a different way of seeing something by not seeing it. Almost like putting a puzzle together. Which has intrigued...
The work of data is data in itself.
Which has intrigued the science staff, because, again, they're so used to just the rote process of, okay, is it this? No? Then it must be this. And then, so it's a very, very linear, very super logical. But it's not that yours is illogical, but it's just a different way of approaching. Anyway, so you learn that the Black Shuttle is going to be sent out because it appears there's some kind of a large mass that is at least partially detectable in this area. And if you want to go aboard to research this mass, then you can. Otherwise, as it could be a derelict ship, as some ship parts were found fused in with this rock, in with this substance. In fact, the composition of the metal is one traditionally used by the UPP. But in order to go and take a look at it, assess if it's a threat or weapons, there is a security team headed by the chief that is going aboard the ship. 8 people can fit aboard, so Benny, the primary pilot of the Emmet, is going. The security chief and two of this security team as well. You can go if you want, but
I probably will, since it's related to roughly the same research. I will download as much data as I can on my whatever equivalent of laptop, and I will be working most of the time on the shuttle because I have enough data to bury myself for a while.
And the Black Shuttle does have like a science, you can sit there and there are just
there is a science suit there, even better.
Yep, there's a small, it's a little mobile lab.
In this case, I won't entrust that position to anybody at that moment. If I have if I can take over the science position in this science mission, I absolutely will.
Coffee, can you switch to the next screen? I'm sorry, we should have been on that a little earlier. This is the lab where you're going and getting the details to put things together. You have a very nice lab out. Okay. So you want to go, but you're primarily going to stay aboard the shuttle. I mean, while Benny's going to stay aboard as well, in a pinch, you can pilot a little bit of yourself. But in a way team,
the simulations.
In a way team of sorts is loaded on, and you will be traveling for a while to try and intercept this thing. So while it's not the bus, the red bus, because that's way overkill and it doesn't have the equipment that you would need, you are loaded as best as you can, and you set out. And what this is going to do, Cyril, we're going to... Well, you're aboard, so the spotlight's still kind of on you. This is where I'm going to take over a little bit in Jim's introduction, since he's going to head the mission, but, I mean, we don't have Valendar here. So you're here, and you can still ask questions and get data. But I'm going to move to the next set of slides as you head out in the Black Shuttle. So we come over now to the shuttle bay, and everyone is loading aboard, including you, Dr. Iskander. It is 3 security. It is Benny, which is his nickname. There's a he keeps indicating that it's based on a joke from Earth, something because he's a pilot. His name's Benjamin, but everyone calls him Benny, and I think it's because he works the jets or something like that. That he doesn't quite understand it, but he rolls with it. So, but if you would prefer to be more formal and call him Benjamin, then that's perfectly fine.
I normally call him Chief Danner, and he normally calls me Professor Iskander or Dr. Iskander.
So the pilot welcomes you aboard, and you, if there's any sort of last commands that you would like to leave behind before you go out on this expedition, you're welcome to leave them, Doctor. Otherwise, it'll be business.
Tell them I left. How long did I have before leaving? Since I found out about the mission, and since we actually until we actually left.
It has been so you're on the 4th day out from obtaining and bringing in the sample.
Did I have 6-8 hours to prepare a program for them to run while I'm away?
Sure. Tell you what, give me a Comtech. While you're trying to whip up sort of a custom, in my absence, here's a protocol to run.
Pretty much, yes.
Hey, not bad. All right, so you
Actually,
successfully.
this one I will push.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I do not screw around with research, so if I can make it better, I will.
Although I roll 1 extra d6 because when you push, that does increase stress. You could just do it. Oh, there it is. All right. So the 1 on the stress die. You're pretty confident, right? You got 3 successes. You totally got 3 successes. You're pretty confident that your protocol software is doing exactly what you need it to do.
I thought the stress die is added after the push happens. Okay.
Did I not invoke a rule correctly, or?
I think the way it was done properly because it did add the stress die, but it first rolls the push, then it adds the stress die to me. But again, I'm not specialist on this particular system. By the way, we don't need to figure it out right now, I presume.
Okay. No, unless I got it out of order, because it says your stress level increases by 1 whenever one of the following happens. You push a skill roll. So if I misread that rule and it doesn't happen before, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, you wrote a program. And we're taking off, and go ahead and Coffee, if we can switch to the next slide here. Or whatever one is behind the hangar. Oh, actually, I can do it. Bloop. There we go. All right.
Oh, dude.
No, it's okay. And then if we can get Jim and put him in the other seat up here, next to Benny. So, this shuttle is, again, it's fairly well appointed. This acts as the captain's yacht. if there's a VIP or the captain just wants to go out and do whatever, visit a planet or make contact with another ship or something. But so up in the cockpit, we have a conversation between this retired colonial, pardon me, this retired colonial marine who took on a job in retirement, something that I'm abbreviating this. This would be casual conversation brought up in the cockpit. But just Benny saying, "Hey, while we're here, what's going on? What talk? We got some time to get out there anyway. We're gonna be gone for a while." So those two sitting up there, they start talking, and he goes over, his record in the Marines, and how this was something that, he did lose a friend of his in combat, and this is something that he can still serve in a sense and instill the lessons that he learned when he was young in people here. And it hasn't been too bad. It's been pretty quiet. Not that he's hoping that things get rough, but he and Benny just kind of develop a rapport in this moment. And as you continue traveling out, because you'll be out here for a while, you all get to learn a little bit more also about the chief security officer. Hopefully Valandar can be here for the next session. I'll let him get into any stories that he tells, but this is a way, peeking behind the curtain, everyone, this is a way for me as the game mother, as the presenter, the storyteller, to get, well, especially Cyril and Jim together, but to do a little bit of storytelling, because, hey, they're all huddled around the campfire, so to speak. They're going to be in the shuttle for a while, instead of everyone having duties on a big ship anyway, where no one wants to seem to rock the boat, but this actually has organized people. This has kind of excited people, because now something's actually happening. Instead of just everything being pure daylight, fluorescent LED sameness. So it's a little bit of get together, a little bit of short storytelling. During this time, oh, what's that?
No, I'm just saying, careful for what you wish for.
This would be a prompt for you, Dr. Iskander, if you ever wanted to pull Jim aside and talk to him, or especially because you're here, he would also go over safety procedures, like, okay, so we're going here, and this is how we want to carry things out, especially as you get close and you see that what you have been like burning hard and getting up to is a giant, it's an asteroid kind of, but it doesn't look nearly like the sample you had recovered. In fact, the sample you recovered might have almost been blown off of this thing, and sort of like projected ahead.
Does it seem to have any red residue on it or anything like that?
The ship itself, not a lot. And in fact, where it is the most red, there's kind of a brownish red, which is almost like a flesh. This is like almost a bio-looking ship. Just with the way it has some curves and the way it has structure that is just, it looks a lot more organic than a cratered or chipped piece of metal or a conglomeration of ice or things that make other celestial bodies. But where you do find... Oh, what's that?
You mentioned we had 4 days. Did we find anything biological or anything dangerous in that red stuff?
Yes. The Emmett could have called ahead saying that there is evidence that while it's not happening with the lichen or the mold or the whatever, that was recovered from the asteroid, it does appear that it acts like a rust, but the patterns it makes is more of like an organic living pattern, even though is seemingly acting as an oxidization, or like it's kind of eating or absorbing the metal. And what you're seeing with combined with that message is there are metallic, well, where there would be metallic things attached to the front of this ship. There are 2 lumps that are covered in this red flaking stuff, and there might have been a third, except it's a big, like a crater, except unlike an impact crater, it would almost look like scar tissue, or just something had smoothed over, like if someone loses an eye and there's just sort of like, you got the hole in your skull, but you can have your skin kind of stretched. So it's a crater in that sense. And especially more in the midsection of this giant thing is an even larger ship than the 2 that are more at the front, or at least as it's traveling. And the chief security officer here is a gunnery sergeant, Danner, is able to kind of vaguely look at it and make out that it looks like it's a UA ship. But it's definitely, like, it looks like it's been half absorbed into this thing, like this big space potato. And it has a lot of this red stuff just like all over it. So Benny engages with the controls for more manual flight than just the automatic, like, hey, I'm just sitting here, and is bringing the shuttle in, is bringing the black shuttle in more closely for a look. And of all of there is, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I'm getting this out. Sorry, because we're at the back end of this, and it's a little bit out of order. There is a little bit of a visible red mist, flaking or something, coming from the back of this potato.
Is it not by any chance of roughly the same hue as that weird thing we've been observing?
Yes. It is the same as
stuff.
It is the same as the cloud. And the way that it is also showing signs of absolutely baffling sensors. You can visually see it. You can look through the glass and it's there. But for your scanners, it might as well not be.
At this point, I'm running scans on all telemetry I can find, absolutely anything. I need to find something, and I'm right here. If I don't find it now, I will not find it ever.
Yeah, it's something at least from the cloud. If not, maybe it's kind of trailing some of this red stuff, or like somehow the cloud is just sort of like following behind it or something.
Maybe exploded out of it, whatever.
But here between the pilot and the chief security officer, it would be noticed visually, because again the scanners aren't really working in proximity here, that there is a red light that is visible inside one of the mostly absorbed UPP ships, and there's no distress signals. But there is kind of a red emergency lighting that can be seen inside one of the ships. The other ship is completely dark. and there's nothing that is apparent coming from the UA ship that's on the side of the potato, not just at the front of it. Sergeant Danner has his security team rally and change into EVA suits inside the shuttle here. He looks at you, Dr. Iskander. Did you want to go, or do you want us to go and search for any signs of life or survivors?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I want to be in your way. I'm not exactly an athletic person. And I'm not sure how good will be communication with you from here because all of my scanners seem to be nullified by this thing. So be ready for complete incommunicado until you get back.
Understood. They change.
Do you have like visual signals, Morse, something?
The EVA
And
suits do have like lights in the helmet and on the wrist, and like a beacon, like a flashing beacon.
whatever it is, it has done this to these ships. I don't know if it's new weapon UPP been working on or it's some bizarre new thing we have not seen yet, but
We'll be careful.
please be careful. We do not want to lose people on this. Also, this light, does it remind me of anything?
It's emergency lighting. You've seen that sort of stuff before. Even aboard the Emmet, it has like low power red emergency lights and those go on when there's drills, like emergency drills conducted with the crew. So that's what this seems to be. So
well, good luck.
Okay. The security team suits up in their EVA suits, and goes through the airlock one at a time, and in a little formation flies down as Benny has taken the shuttle like close, but is keeping up with the direction and momentum of things here. The security squad touches down and begins its investigation of this area that is exposed and has these red lights. Over the course of the investigation, and so Valandar, this is what I would be narrating to you here.
Real quick, I need the password to get in the video.
Oh, can one of you provide that? So
message to me on Discord.
I got it.
You scout, and you notice that a lot of the ship, on your way down, you're able to look, and you're using, in this case, more of your eyes, because the closer you're getting, even your short range little like sensors and hand scanners and things in your suits are just not really working too well. But you found almost like the core of a UPP ship, and in the med bay, which stands out as even much like the Emmet, the central area of it seems to be a med bay with its own power supply. But interestingly enough, where a lot of the metal has been like broken down or absorbed or kind of taken over into this potato, the med lab has like ceramic tiles all throughout it, which is a very interesting choice. Harkens back to kind of an old like 20s, 30s, 40s on Earth style of hospital, and kind of just an appearance. Now, how functional? Well, I mean, tiles are tiles, but everything isn't just a sterile metal. Or you can argue it might be a cheap tile, but you're not finding any of this red growing on or around the tile surfaces. And you're also noticing signs of combat, where it looks like at some point there was a firefight, You're seeing some bullet holes in some of the walls that remain, cracks in the tiles. And as you're putting the battle together, with some pretty gnarly twists in the wall, like it looks like some places the wall were just rent with whatever happened or is happening to this ship. One of your team calls out. You're short range, but even still, you're probably having every like fifth word dropped, even though you're not terribly far from each other.
Okay.
Looks like we've got survivors here in some sort of a cryo.
Okay. Real quick pause. I missed a lot of what you were saying because I was trying to get everything started up and get in as quick as possible. My computer had no internet for the past 3 hours.
Oof.
It's okay because like this is the wrap up. Like this is about the time where I'm like I gotta wrap this up because we've been going a while.
Yeah.
We can always touch back on it for next week, but for right now I kind of have you on I'm narrating you. I have you on an autopilot, so to speak. So just bear with me, and I can catch you up at another time.
And if my camera was on, the viewers could see the ship's cat.
Yeah, sorry, because I got to get that rerouted, and but the cat was mentioned. The morale officer did make contact with Dr. Iskander.
Okay.
So
priority is to evac those survivors, but we need to keep them in some kind of security. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they pose any threat to whatever mission we're on. So while we do need to evac them, we need to keep them in those cryopods. Is there any kind of remote power source we can attach to them?
There is, in the form of the shuttle. So you could probably jetpack up there and extend kind of like an umbilical, which could transmit data, electricity. It could even be used to like you can like hook onto.
Okay, so they're USB compatible.
There you go. Yeah, that's not a bad.
Well, my thought is we get these guys, we keep them in the shuttle so that they're doubly isolated, both in their cryo and in the shuttle. You can find out who they are, what their purpose is, because no matter what ship it is, these could have been, for all we know, pirates attacking the ship. This could have been crew. This could have been anybody. So it's always good to be secure first.
Let's at least have you make one roll while you're here. If are you on? You're on roll 20. Can you make me an observation?
Okay. That's not what's supposed to happen. I'm clicking on it and saying input value dice to add to subtract.
0. No extra dice here. Just a straight up roll. Okay, so you have a success. During this mission, there have been. There's little things that have kind of been floating alongside this greater mass, and in fact, the fact that you've even recovered an asteroid, which might not be an asteroid, but during the recovery, as you're like extending the tow winch and the power supply, and you and the security staff are trying to get this surgical pod detached.
Whichever one of them has the best technical skills is going to be assisting. The other one will be on Overwatch constantly, just in case.
There's something, an old soldier's instinct, but something like moved or just was in your peripheral, or I don't know. Maybe it's an old itch from the battle you served in. Maybe the one where you even lost your friend. There's something more than... If
the movement was to my left, I tell the guy in Overwatch to focus right, I focus left and draw my pistol. You see what I'm saying? Whichever way the movement was, I turn that way and I have the other guy face the other way.
So you're on Overwatch. The other guy finishes detaching, and it's time to retract and start reeling in your catch. Since there's only the one airlock,
One
you
at a
have to
time.
go single file, and this cargo has to. It's going to effectively ride on the outside of the black shuttle here as like a captured sample. So you make your withdrawal. You're welcome to, like, I don't know, you could like angle your jets if you wanted to, like, put your back to the shuttle where you're going and look behind you. You can do that.
That would be a good idea.
Make one more observation before you it's your turn to get inside the airlock and
Wrong button. It's observation, not surviving. Okay, I'm not gonna bother pushing right now.
Okay. You know what? There's other, like, smaller debris that's sort of like floating around, like kind of with this thing. There's not like a tremendous gravity to this, but it's lending credence to, like, something exploded, and there is some debris kind of around, floating or just sort of bopping around or something. So
yeah.
But it's your turn in the airlock. You get out of your suit, and you're hauling the cargo back to the Emmet.
I pass word to the anyone that's on the bridge who would be in the command right now. We have 2 survivors. We are keeping them outside the ship for right now, just in case, until we can get more data on them.
We will not be using the shuttle bay. We will be using the same bay where the meteorite was stowed. We want to keep this thing. Well, whatever this is, we want to keep everything as contained as possible.
I would recommend that we keep the beings in the cryo chamber. I don't know who they're affiliated with, separate from that asteroid.
We make sure we go through the quarantine. We do not know what happened there. We do not know what you brought in. We don't know what you brought in at the tube. Everybody's going through the quarantine, the full biochem.
That's acceptable. But again, I say we keep whoever's in those cryotubes separate from that asteroid, just in case.
We'll figure it out as soon as we land. I already have a team working there. They might as well get on that as well.
Well, we've got.
Oh, go ahead.
I said we've got them plugged in. If you need any data from their cryopods itself, including any of the logs, it's already got access through the shuttle.
If it is an option, look through that, because at this point it's probably the most immediate concern.
These are human lives.
You make the long burn and a hard burn too to get back to the Emmet with your information and your precious cargo. It is loaded into the front, so the front claw, the mandibles as people call it, open. The doors open, and the security team. Well, actually, like the shuttle can just, like, go in. It's not the shuttle bay,
shuttle goes in.
But yeah, like it can go in.
Mm-hmm.
And
it will take some piloting, but I assume we have decent pilots.
Yes. The people who are aboard, while some of them may have been bought on board, they are still decent at what they do. And Benny, as a pilot, has been excellent and very witty. So, following the procedures, of course, you after you got away from this potato, you were able to resume communications. Dr. Iskander, you're like, okay, I want you to have a med team. I want you to have a decontamination team. You know, I need an external battery, or I need an external power source because we have, an incoming cryo tube, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like I'm skipping. I just want to make sure we're wrapping up for the night.
That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
The operating, everything lands, and the procedures are followed. The tube is, in its own way, opened to find an adult and a child wearing UPP clothing. Because even Isaac had like a UPP. I don't know, you might have had like your dad's flight jacket or something on.
Yeah, I probably have my dad's like flight jacket that's got stay good blood.
But so this technology is certainly from a UPP ship, and they're dressed as such, and their rejuvenation and rehydration procedure is able to go as planned. And so where we can leave off for tonight is Danner, who hasn't quite met formally Danner, but we have Danner and Isaac. Your dream came true. You actually got to wake up. But, I mean, I don't know if you have a concept of heaven, but everything seems to be very white and very, bright white lights everywhere. And
but it smells weird.
Yeah.
It smells like chlorine.
But yeah, you're brought about, and you're definitely surrounded by people with strange sights and smells. Very bright white light, especially after just being thawed out.
Panicking, slight panic as like he's like looking around his surroundings. Like,
by the way, they would probably be in medical, and at least one of the two security dudes would be in there with them.
They will still be in the same bay. Everybody quarantined separately from each other.
Okay, then there would be a guard on the doors to quarantine.
Yeah, like a little, I don't know, some sheets could have been put up to, not sheets, but you know what I mean, like we're keeping it here for right now. And so this is where, what?
Before I roll in, he's like quickly like looking around as soon as he like sees everything.
Okay. It's a warehouse? I mean, that's kind of, yeah.
As he seems to be panicked.
But we're going to leave off here with Danner and Isaac being revivified inside the Emmet. And we'll pick up, and there's going to be some splaining to do. But while there is a person with a gun, it's not necessarily pointed at you all, and you're seemingly met with some warm food and tea. So it is a weird kind of heaven, but certainly better than what you just went to sleep from.
I mean, considering you only basically went through pretty much months on end of multiple deaths, yeah, this would basically be happening at this point.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, everyone, I'm going to take us into a raid real quick, and then for my players, if you got to go to bed or do whatever, do it. Otherwise, if you want to sit and talk a little bit and decompress, you're welcome to do so.
I'm gonna head on off and
okay.
And I would like to apologize again for being so late. Had an issue with internet, and this is a brand new computer, so I also had an issue with having to get my password for Roll20.
Oh, I got you. Like we just did intros, so it wasn't. Yeah, you're good. Don't worry.
It's not like we were facing up against the Xenomorph just yet.
Oh, no, I didn't expect that, but...
So, everyone, come along with me. We're going to go raid Macabre Derek, who is having a Drawing on the Macabre art session. Derek's certainly done art for this channel, including a role-playing game, too. He can talk to you about all things spooky, creepy. You want to talk about Xenomorphs? You want to talk about vampires? You want to talk about all that stuff? He can absolutely do so. So let's go give Derek a howdy, see what he's up to, and we'll be back next Tuesday for Session 2 of Red Space. So I'll see you over there, everyone. Take care.
Yep.
Be ready.